Good evening. Welcome back. It's the second edition of Sideline Stories, presented to you by These Urban Times and Live Hip Hop Daily TV. We're live at the Live Hip Hop Daily Studios on this beautiful Sunday evening. And as you can see, I'm joined at the desk tonight. I have a companion in crime, as I like to call him, wonderful mind in sports. We do a lot of talking and dialogue outside of the desk, so it's only right that we have him join us at the desk today. He brings the D in DNA. Goes by the name of Don. How you feeling today,
Good.
sir?
How you feeling?
I can't complain.
It's an honor
man.
to be here.
Oh
with
no,
you,
it's an
man.
honor to have you here, good
Oh,
sir.
no,
You know,
no.
I see you all over the road. We run into each other in different cities and states.
Now,
Covering
what does
sports.
that say about you?
What does it say about us? What does it say about us? What does it say about us? For our viewers who are unfamiliar with what you do, just briefly let them know who you are and let them know where they can check out your work.
It's DNASportsTalk. You can find it on all social media outlets, mainly DNASportsTalk.com. Cover all sports, not just basketball, football, baseball, the top three, but anything from golf to NASCAR to PGA, tennis, bowling. I mean, you name it, we'll cover it. So make sure you check us out Monday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1100 a.m. But all the information is on DNASportsTalk.com.
Now we're gonna dive right into the meat and potatoes. We just recently came back from Phillips Arena.
We did.
It was the second game of the weekend for our Atlanta Hawks. They had their home opener on Friday night against Paul Millsap and the Denver Nuggets. They lost that game 105-100. And then tonight it was a tough loss as well. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks came into town and they walked away with a 117-106 victory. So we're gonna dive in and break down the numbers in a little while. But before we do that, we got to talk about the Hawks' first two home games. So let me ask you: we're 0-2 so far to start the season off at home.
At home, right.
Overall for the season, we're 1-6. Our only win came on the road in Dallas against the Dallas Mavericks on the NBA opening night. Took place Wednesday. Or excuse me, not NBA opening night, but it was opening night for the Mavericks. It took place Wednesday, October the 18th.
Exactly.
Them coming here, you know, they're still revamping the arena, so it's and renovating the arena. But that was a great look to be back in Phillips Arena.
It was.
But it seemed like
it looked open too. The
it
arena.
It does. I can agree.
I do like that.
I can agree to you to that.
Now I don't know if that plays a role in depth perception as far as visually when you're shooting. I mean, for several of the players, they've gotten used to shooting a certain way in the particular arena. Now with it seeming more like, the backboard is a little different, we'll say, because it looks more open. So I'm not sure if that plays a role in getting adjusted to playing at home and to why they've lost the last two games at home.
That's a great point that I didn't even think of. What you're saying, especially with the club being there. The club is on the floor now, so as you're running down court, who knows what you may see, right,
and who you may see,
right there at the club. So, what would your analyzation be from the first two games of the Hawks, the first two home games from our Atlanta Hawks this year?
First two home games to me was a little bit of a lack of communication on the bench. In particular, we were talking the other night. I particularly wanted to analyze each team and how they reacted during a timeout. And would they sit there? Who was going to be the vocal leader? Who was going to step up, point out things, and say, hey, this is what we need to do. You need to get back on D, or come help man on this side. Anything to help the team. Who was going to be that particular leader outside of the coaches to step up and make a difference in a run? Because we all know the NBA is a game of runs. We saw that tonight when they were going a 6-0 run, and then the Bucks would come back and answer with another 6-0 run and keep the lead at 19 or 20, keeping it at a pace to where the Hawks were going to expend too much energy trying to get back in the game. And I didn't see that on the bench between the players I needed to see, which is Dennis, which is Prince, which is Bazemore. Those are your three quote-unquote elder statesmen of the team. They need to be the ones, and it doesn't have to be a boisterous, in-your-face type of thing. But if you're the big three now, you have to step up and be that leader. And I just didn't see that during timeouts between them.
That's very well said. I've been kind of pondering and picking Kent's brain about that, about being a leader. You're a senior,
right.
a veteran on this team. It's a very young team. what type of leadership are you going to bring to the floor? I've been pretty impressed with the play of Taurean Prince in these games. Although they haven't resulted in a win, it seems like every game we're beginning to see a little bit more improvement, a little bit more growth. He's beginning to be a lot more confident shooting the three ball. I'm loving that from Taurean, to see him actually being aggressive with the three ball. It just has not resulted in a win, And we were talking briefly offline as we were coming over here. I was just like you. I had the Hawks making a 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs.
I did too.
And a lot of people were laughing at me. And
right.
Maybe I see why.
I see why, right?
Maybe
they knew something we didn't know.
They're like, you might be a homer on that one right there. I'm like, no, I see it. I see the potential. Maybe because it's a young team, they just haven't gelled yet. Coach Bud still has to, stress his philosophy. A lot of his guys are gone. They're gone now. So although the Dwayne Dedmans, who are familiar with the system, they still have to find some type of chemistry together. They got to find some type of chemistry together. So it'll be interesting. Do you think, or what do you think our leaders need to do, the Hawks leaders need to do to help us get a home win?
Well, I agree with you about Prince. He's becoming a leader on the court. Now he just needs to figure out how to translate that on the bench. His play is showing that he's a leader. As you mentioned, he's improved in his three-point shooting. He's even improved in his decision-making, knowing when to take the three.
I respect that.
Or when to step inside and take the 17-footer, when to pass it out. And he's really developed in that. Now I would like to see him as well as Bays, and I got to say Dennis, because Dennis, you got paid to be the leader, and you're the point guard. It might be unfair, but that's how the NBA is. Those are, quote-unquote, your leaders. So more of a resurgence of Dennis just saying, okay, let me figure out how to put the team on my back, so to speak, with my play, as well as putting players in the right position.
Well, we're doing a lot of talking about the vets. We got to do some talking to show some love to the rookie on the team,
right?
John Collins. Now, John Collins came in. People were wondering during the draft, who is this cat? Some cats were saying he was the steal of the draft, comparing him to Danny Manning and different things. He went to Wake Forest, so we know that they're known for producing big men, a.k.a. or i.e. rather Tim Duncan. We know all the success that he's had. Collins has looked well in play. We've seen him. I believe he has about 3 or 4 double-doubles right now.
I think so, yes.
In a small sample size. He has yet to be inserted into the starting role or to the starting lineup. But what do you think of the play of John Collins at home and just overall in these past few games?
Overall, for a rookie, he's played well. I don't think the bright lights, so to speak, have gotten to him. But I think one of those reasons, playing at Wake Forest, you play in the ACC. So you're playing Duke, Carolina, NC State, Miami. You're on TV. You're playing the best of the best, quote-unquote, in competition. So the bright light, so to speak, shouldn't affect you as much as another rookie, no disrespect, who comes from Washington or a Pac-12 type system or a team. So I think in that respect, that prepared him to come to the NBA and play as well as he is. Want to see the rebounds get a little bit better, obviously, but that comes with time, with minutes, and backing up Dedmon and everything. But I like where he's trending and where he's headed. Another player is Taylor, Isaiah Taylor, and his emergence and role, I think, is helping Collins, because they seem to be a little bit more in tune when the two of them are on the court, as opposed to our good friend Malcolm Delaney. Gonna see him get some more minutes. Hey, Malcolm.
Yeah, we
come on.
We need to see Malcolm get.
We
need to see him get some more minutes out there. I mean, I'm very interested to see what type of player John is going to develop into, because he seems to be very versatile on the offensive and defensive end. He seems to be a high flyer. We see that in his game, but he also plays a position playing the 4 and sometimes playing the 5, where we're seeing so much more versatility out of him. He joked about on opening night having to face Dirk. Then the next night it was Dwight. We saw him on Friday against Paul Millsap. There were times tonight where it was Thon Maker. It was times where it was Giannis Antetokounmpo. When Giannis would shift to the 4. So seeing him in the versatility that he could possibly bring to the Hawks, I think will be very key. I'm wondering if he has the superstar potential.
One dunk doesn't make you a superstar. I mean, everybody blew up on the Summer League when he dunked, and granted, you should have. I mean, he put on a show.
Yes, indeed.
But again, just because you have that one superstar highlight doesn't make you a superstar, i.e. Odell Beckham Jr. because you have that one great catch, not to talk football, but just the correlation. You have that one great catch, and now everyone expects you to be Jerry Rice. That doesn't happen. So with Collins, you had, great summer league. You had the great play, but that doesn't turn you into Tim Duncan.
Well, we're looking, speaking of the Tim Duncans, though, being the elite of the elite in the league, the Hawks tonight were going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm wondering, as a gentleman on their team, the leader of their team, Giannis Antetokounmpo, is
Say
he
it
the new
again.
Antetokounmpo?
You've been practicing.
I
just still say Greek freak.
Listen, let me take this. I actually like this cat a lot. We're supposed to be biased as reporters and things like that. But one thing I try to do is try to find the players who are going to be good in the next 5 years. Not the LeBrons and the people that we know they're throwing to your face that they're good, but who has the potential to be good. So for the past 3 seasons, when they've been coming to the games, I've been a big Giannis fan. So one night the first time before I interviewed him, I watched a bunch of interviews of him saying his name, and I just was in the room, Antetokounmpo.
See, he still got it.
Antetokounmpo.
Say it again.
So whenever I say it, it's like, all right, I know what this young man is going to bring. But I'm wondering, we did something. You weren't here for this on the other show, These Urban Times. We did a little projecting the 2017-18 season. And a few weeks ago, before the season kicked off, I was saying that I had Giannis as my MVP.
Your MVP.
I was looking at Giannis as being my MVP. And it's funny, I was looking at a picture that we took in the All-Star game last year. I got a daggone Giannis.
You've been a homer ever since.
Been rocking with Giannis for a second now. But I'm wondering, could you see him as being the new face of the NBA?
Definitely. You spoke to the interview. He's charismatic. He has that, I'm not ego tripping. He still seems to be humble. Hopefully he stays that way.
Very humble, I agree.
And he's in a situation in Milwaukee with Jason Kidd where he can mold him to stay in that situation. So hopefully he stays in Milwaukee and, under Kidd's wing, so to speak, and he allows him to grow to be the potential face of the NBA, because LeBron has 2, maybe 3 years, and somebody will have to take over. Durant has a few years, but we're still
they're
looking
villains
for
now. That's what I think. Steph and Durant, they're the villains. They're villains now.
So you got to have that quote unquote good guy, which Giannis is, to come in and take over. And the way he's putting up numbers, and tonight I predicted he would go for 30, 12, and 8. We'll get into the numbers later. I know he had
33, 12, and 5.
33, 12, and 5. Right. So. But it was a quiet 33, 12, and 5.
It was. I can attest to it.
Right. Because he looked at the score and like, oh, he did have that many. Oh, he did have 12. Because he picks his spots. He's learning the game, and you hear several players talk about how the game slows down when they finally figure it out. The game is starting to slow down for him, which is scary because he has a versatility to do everything from point guard. He can play all 5 positions on the court. And when you can do that, then yes, you can be the face of the NBA.
I was thinking the same thing. Now, coming into the night, I was like, wow, as you mentioned, LeBron, how much time does he have left? When KD hit that big shot in the finals last year, it almost seemed like a changing of the guards to an extent. Russell Westbrook, I was wondering, he's in a small market. We saw how he was accepted by the media and by fans. I was wondering, could he possibly be the face? But it just seems like this is Giannis's time. It does seem like it's his time. Last year was his first time making an All-Star team. Right. And he was extremely humble about that, as you mentioned. Unfortunately, and rest in peace, he lost his father, as we know, right before the season was beginning. And his father was very instrumental in him and his brother picking up a basketball, and him and his brother coming over here from Greece. As many of you may not know, he's not an American citizen. It's funny, he just kind of is mastering how to
Which how he got the nickname Greek freak. Right.
He's just now, kind of getting accustomed to the American ways. But it does seem like it's his time. I see the Joel Embiid. There are a few other characters across the league who have that personality. Exactly. That's what it all boils down to, the personality.
Right. Embiid has the personality. He's a big person on Twitter and Instagram, on social media in general, and he has all the cliches, the hashtags, the catchy phrases. But Giannis goes out and plays ball, and the only thing I haven't seen yet from him, and I'm not sure, we talk about the killer instinct. The Jordans, the Kobes, they had that when the game is on the line, you give it to them, they take over, they make the right decision, the right pass, or the right shot. Does he have that, put the team on the back and will them to victory?
I think so. Now, the sample size has been small this year, but he has. It was a game earlier this week against Portland where he came up with the block, the steal, and the shot in the final 10 seconds, I believe it was, to seal the game. It does seem like, I know Kobe Bryant challenged him over the summer. He challenged him over the summer to actually go out and get the MVP award with his Mamba mentality challenge he was issuing out to a few players across the NBA. So I do wonder, can Giannis be the next face of the NBA and what all that will have to bring?
Who else does that leave, though? I mean, like you say, Russ triple-double, but now he has PG and Melo with him. So it's kind of hard to be the face of the NBA when you got help. Great help.
I agree.
LeBron is on his way out. Durant, like you mentioned, Durant is the villain with the Warriors.
All the Warriors is out. Steph, Durant, I think they – Giannis.
So
Giannis and Embiid. Giannis and Embiid.
Because Kyrie is a villain now.
I don't know. I don't know.
You didn't got sympathetic for him because Hayward was out.
I was happy when he left. I was doing the cabbage patch when that man asked for a trade. But I thought the same thing. I was saying, the social media pretty much attacked him once he left. But he's been balling since the injury to Hayward. And he's kind of playing the game, too. I've been seeing him every arena he goes to. At the end of the night, he's giving his sneakers to fans. He's playing the game to kind of get back into the... Yeah, he's playing the game to kind of... He's not a dummy. He went to Duke, He's far from a dummy, so...
Well, I don't care for Duke. I like the Tar Heels, so I won't call him a dummy. You're right, but I can't stand him nonetheless.
I'm not mad at that. We're going to continue here at the desk to dive into tonight's game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. Before we do so, though, we're going to let you check out these locker room interviews. After the game, we were able to catch up with Coach Jason Kidd, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Malcolm Brogdon from out here in Atlanta, who now plays for the Bucks, to just kind of get their idea of tonight's game. Giannis spoke on the possible MVP campaign if he's paying attention to the noise. Jason Kidd gave us an update and let us know exactly what's going on with Greg Monroe, and Brogdon spoke about being back in Atlanta and what he's learned since last year winning the Rookie of the Year award. Check out these interviews, and we'll be back here at the desk to break down the numbers of tonight's Milwaukee Bucks and Atlanta Hawks game. Dope shit, good stuff. Dope shit.
Yeah. How important was it for you to set the tone early, knowing that you guys needed to get out to a lead and kind of grow it and build it?
It was really important. Usually in games like this, early games, Sunday morning, you come out a little bit lazy. And, we've done that in the past. And for me, personally, I just wanted to set a good tone, come out aggressive, play hard so everybody can see that, and everybody can play hard and be aggressive.
Jason was saying after the game that Moose is going to be out for 2 weeks. What does that do to you guys, and how does that change how you guys approach the next 2 weeks of games?
Moose is a really big part of this team. Guys got to step up. Like the day John Hansen, I think he did a great job. Helping the team defensively and offensively, and you got to hold it down until Moose can be able to come back.
Giannis, you're one of two players in the NBA currently averaging over 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists per night. What are you seeing different out there in these few games so far this season?
It's my teammates, man. My teammates make the game easier for me. They're always in the right spot. They always give me the ball when they know I got a mismatch. And for me, the game is just slowing down for me. I'm just trying to play hard and try to get a win every night.
Are you paying any attention to the MVP chatters? A lot of people are talking about MVP possibly for you this season. Are you paying attention to that noise yet?
It's to be honest, it's really hard not to pay attention. Turning on your TV and seeing your face everywhere. But I'm a low-profile guy, and I want to stay like that because it's a long season. My team, I gotta help my team win. And that's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm trying not to get in that conversation and get caught up in all those MVP talks and stuff. Just every night I'm gonna try to help my team win, like tonight.
Played really well tonight, and everybody off the bench was a collective effort.
When you play a team like Atlanta, you know, like, we're a better team, we can't, let these guys even think of this.
You do. We go into a game like that knowing that's a young team. It's an organization that's trying to rebuild a little bit. We know we're a better team. But at the same time, you still got to respect them and understand that those are pros over there, and they're an NBA team, so you got to come out and play hard.
You're no stranger to the city of Atlanta. How does it feel to come back home and to play in front of family and friends?
I love being home. This is the best city in the world, other than Milwaukee right now. So, I'm glad to be home playing in front of my family and friends, and get a win.
The fourth quarter kind of got a little sloppy there. That's just the nature of the game.
They made a few shots. We took our foot off the gas a little bit. We have some experienced guys that have been to playoffs now. So, we were able to, pick it back up and push the lead a little bit.
What's your comfort level now compared to what it was a year ago?
I'm a lot more comfortable. A year of experience and experience in the playoffs really makes the world a difference for me. So I'm comfortable. I know what my role is. I feel like I found my niche with this team, and I love playing with my teammates.
How many passes you have to do?
How many
passes, family?
I actually only had maybe 6 or 8, but I could have got a lot more. But I think a lot of people bought their tickets.
Smart.
Yeah.
So as we're both graduates of GAC, talk about your experience and what it was like in being a Spartan alumni.
GAC was a great school for me. I had a great academic and athletic experience there. Hopefully I can get back to them this summer and go say hello to some of the people. But I love being back in Atlanta. I imagine some of them are out there watching. So yeah.
Malcolm, you picked up the Rookie of the Year last year. What are some things that you've seen on the court this year to kind of improve your game this season?
Just being a calming presence for our practice.
I know you guys wanted to see the ball move more. How would you grade that tonight?
I would an effort. I thought they were making a conscious effort to move the ball. Whoever was on the floor, we're trying to limit our just 0 pass shots. We're not very good when we do that. So I thought, again, the ball was getting to the second side. Playing through Giannis in the post or Chris, I thought guys were sharing the ball. Having 30 assists showed that.
Coach, you say you never worry about Chris, and after a 2 for 11 first half, he bounced back with 7 for 8 in the second half. What was the thing you thought that really got him going in the second half?
I think just the shots. He's getting open shots. They're just not dropping it. Anytime you're a shooter, you got to continue to keep shooting. I thought Jet gave him some great advice. He needed to change his club to use the utility club, and I thought he did a good job in the second half picking the right club. But I think, again, we all believe in Chris and that he's going to make the right play. As bad as he shot in the first half, he still was plus 26. On the stat sheet, he almost had a triple-double. So, I thought, again, the first half wasn't pretty, but I thought, again, Chris is one who's a grown-up, stays with the game plan, and makes open shots when he has to.
Rashad's a guy that's been sticking with it, inactive last 3 games. First half, come off the bench, 12 off the bench. Just talk about him just being ready and being a professional.
Yeah, I think, again, Vaughn's only 21 years old. It just shows how hard he's been working, and to come, today to give the bench a pick up. With Moose being out, 12 points there in that first half. We need that from him. With Moose out, we need someone on the bench who's going to give us, some points. And I thought Vaughn was professional and came out and played a great game today.
What kind of value can he be to you guys if he can consistently put games together like tonight?
Yeah, I think, again, a guy who can stretch the defense, who can knock down the open 3 defensively, is big and get his hands on deflections. Again, being counted on, has been out for the last 3 games, just shows his maturity and his work ethic that he's been, he's ready to go, and he answered the call today.
Speaking of answering the call, obviously with Monroe out, Henson got some more time, and he really made the most of it.
Yeah, I thought Henson, again, he's been playing great for us in training camp and then to start the season, and we're going to need him with Moose out for the next 2 weeks. We're going to need him to step up, him and Don and DJ and Giannis. We'll all see some action at the 5.
2 weeks for Moose then?
I would think that's what I was told.
Yes, sir. You want to lead it off with the Hawks? Okay. We are back. Terrell Thomas joined as usual at the desk right now by Mr. Don.
Yes, sir.
We're going to dive and break down the actual numbers of today's game. And as we mentioned before we started off everything today, our Atlanta Hawks fell today to the Milwaukee Bucks 117-106. The Bucks move on to a record of 4-2, and our Hawks drop down to a record of 1-6. So we're going to dive into the numbers and let you know exactly what took place, who was the leading scorer, and more. So, Don, what took place for our Hawks today? What were the numbers like for our Atlanta Hawks tonight?
For the Hawks, Dennis led the league and led the team in scoring with 21 points, followed by Prince. We were mentioning earlier, his three-point shooting has improved. He had 17, and third in scoring was 15 with Bazemore, i.e. the big three. Those are your leading scorers. Looking at rebounding, very disappointing that Collins coming off the bench led the team in rebounding with 7, followed by 5 for Prince. And then as far as steals, which to me shows aggressiveness, who's trying to hustle, get after it, Dennis led the team with 3, and he also led the team with 8 assists. The thing that, looking at the numbers, that's disappointing is the plus or minus that each team has. And for those who don't know, I'm going to read it to make sure you understand. It's the per 100 possession stats. So the plus or minus, 0 is the league average. Plus 5 means the play is 5 points better than an average player over 100 possessions. So that kind of gives you an idea of the plus or minus. So when I say this, you'll understand that Prince was a minus 16, Dennis was a minus 19, and we'll also go with the other big three in Bazemore. He was a minus 2.
Yeah.
So minus 2 is considered a replacement level, and minus 5 is considered really bad. So when you're minus 19, minus 16, that's not good.
Not a good look.
That's not a good look for the team.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good look for the team. As far as the Milwaukee Bucks are concerned, Giannis Antetokounmpo continued his MVP campaign. Now, he was coming into tonight's game as being one of 2 players, the other player being DeMarcus Cousins, who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans, who is currently averaging 25 points or more, 10 rebounds or more, and 5 assists or more per night. And as you mentioned that he would do 30, 12, and 8. He was close to those numbers tonight. He finished the game with 33 points, with 12 rebounds, and with 5 assists. Now, for Giannis, he shot 14 for 21 from the field. He was 14 for 21 from the field.
That's efficient.
That right there shows he's very efficient. And you were talking about he's learned, the game has slowed down for him, and he's learned when to pick his spots. Many of his spots, he came out in the first quarter and scored the first 9 points for the Bucks easily scored the first 9 points of the Bucks. And it was a sight to see, because I honestly think Dennis Schroeder is one of the, I don't want to call him an elite defender yet, but he's a pretty pesky defender out there on the ball. And there was nothing he could do with Giannis. As Giannis was bringing the ball up court, he was just blowing right by Dennis. He was too small. Dennis was too small. Giannis is a 6'11" player. I don't want to call him a guard, who, as you mentioned previously, can play all 5 positions. And he's bringing the ball up court. There's nothing you can do with that. Chris Middleton struggled in the first half, but he finished the second half shooting 7 for 8. Overall, he was 9 for 19 in the game. He finished with 27 points. He also had 9 assists in the game. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon, the hometown kid, was back home. He shot 5 for 11. He also finished the game with 16 points. It was dope to see y'all two's interaction in the locker room today.
That's
as well.
Man right there. Malcolm, when he went to GAC during that time, I was doing physical therapy and training and stuff, so I used to stretch him like day before a game and work out with him. Story nobody knows, so we'll break this live right now. It's exclusive, but no. So that was during his junior and senior year. They go. So yeah. So when we were kidding about playing one-on-one, this has been going on for 6-7 years
that's
now.
Always dope when reporters have that true inside scoop. You know, I was watching it, other people was looking around like, oh, you know, buddy.
Right.
I was checking that out, watching that as well. Yeah. Now, off the bench, it was a big night tonight for Rashad Vaughn. He came in the game in the second quarter and was lighting it up from behind the three-point line. That actually surprised me when he came out. He shot 4 for 6 from behind the three-point line. And your man, former Tar Heel, John Henson, he had a good night tonight as well. He finished the game with 12 points. It was funny, one thing, it actually wasn't funny, but I know a lot of people became familiar with Henson I believe it was last summer when he had the incident at the jewelry store.
Yeah.
They saw him. He's a Milwaukee Bucks player. He goes into a place in Milwaukee. Many people may not know, Milwaukee is known to have a lot of racial tension that's not talked about publicly or talked about through mainstream TV. They straight locked the door and called the cops on him. They said, we think somebody's coming to rob the place. Like, he hadn't even come in. He was walking to the door to go buy some jewelry. I mean, I'm an NBA player. I'm going to go buy some jewelry. They said, no.
Anybody over 6'7", you should. You're right.
Lock the door.
Lock the door
and call the cops.
Boy, I hate that.
About to be the sale of the day right there. And they messed it up.
Looking at the numbers, though, I'm glad to see the Hawks free throw shooting, 80.8% tonight, which is good. That tells a story that once you get to the line, it's pretty much automatic across the board for most of the players. Rebounding, you can't get out-rebounded. Unfortunately for them, getting out-rebounded 31-43. That's one of those signs of a team that you're going to be in a game if you're even on rebounding or you're ahead. And then, of course, your plus minuses that tell the whole story of how you're playing
for the
on
Bucks,
both ends of the ball.
For the Bucks, as you were talking about the minuses that went down for the Hawks. For
Talk
the Bucks,
about the
you have a player, Chris Middleton was plus 26 tonight. I mean, he by far led the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo was plus 8. Thon Maker, I like him a whole lot. I like the game that gentleman brings. He was plus 7. Everyone was pretty much in your pluses tonight as far as the Bucks go. So that shows a lot. Giannis led the entire game tonight with 33 points. Chris Middleton was right behind him with 27. These young Bucks are looking good. They're looking good right now, and we need our Hawks to shift into that mode. Now, the Hawks have a few more games coming up. Their next 5 games will be very, very interesting. They'll be heading on the road very soon.
Again,
they're on the road, and they'll be taking on the Philadelphia 76ers coming up.
Your Philly team.
Now, I don't know what to say about this right here, but news broke earlier today that Markelle Fultz will be out for 3 more weeks. Now, he had been suffering from a shoulder injury. The medical update goes like this. Following consultation with several shoulder specialists, including a visit by Dr. Ben Kubler, I hope I'm saying his name right, they have determined that Fultz will be out indefinitely with soreness and a scopic muscle imbalance in his right shoulder. A further visit confirmed that there were no structural impairments to the shoulder, and he'll be able to continue with his physical therapy as the weeks go on. He'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. Man. So is this like the curse of the first round, the number 1 overall picks for the Sixers?
It seems like it. I feel sorry for Ben Kibler, though, because once they put your name on it, that's it. You got. I see. I'm looking at your report talking about several specialists, but they identify him right. Ben, I'm sorry, but they put you on blast for this one. But oh man, let me ask you, Joel Embiid over under 50 games this year.
I believe he'll be over 50 games this year. I believe so. I think he'll be over 50 games. He stressed that he wants to do that. They gave him the 5-year extension. The Sixers pretty much have him on a restriction. He says he feels the best he's felt, in his time in the NBA. He looks pretty efficient out there.
Okay.
The other night he had 30 points and 9 rebounds,
right.
So he looked pretty efficient in his minutes out there. I do think he'll be plus 50 though. I think this year.
And
he'll be
Ben plus minus 50.
Ben is a cat that I have him in the Rookie of the Year running. I'm loving what that young man is bringing on to the court so far. I actually think this will be a very interesting matchup because they're two very young teams. I do believe at this time the Sixers have a little bit more talent than the Hawks have. No disrespect to our Hawks, but I do believe. I mean, you have 2 top 3 picks on your team already in Simmons and Embiid. We don't
3,
have any
unfortunately,
of that.
that's hurt.
And one that's hurt.
Right.
The Hawks don't have any of those players right now. What do you think it'll be like for the Hawks when they go up to Philadelphia to try to get a win?
We're gonna see if Bud can coach. And we were in media day, and we were talking about Bud now losing the GM position. I've always been a component of I never liked a coach to have a GM and a head coaching hat because something is going to fall through the cracks. And I still believe in Bud. I believe in Pop's tree that he can flat out coach. And that's one of the reasons why I had the Hawks possibly at AFC. We'll get into that, making a playoff. So I think that Bud is definitely going to your point, get the team to buy into his system and figure out a way to start out coaching these teams that have a little bit more talent like the 76ers. So I'm looking for one good thing is there are not as many back-to-back nights, especially there are no back-to-back nights on the road. So that gets in more practice time. And Bud will be able to have more time to get his system going, get the players to buy in, and thus figure out a way to outcoach teams like the 76ers.
After the Hawks take on the Sixers on Wednesday, they'll come back here to Phillips Arena next Friday as they'll be walking in James Harden and the Rockets to town. Now, Chris Paul's also a new member of the Rockets, but he's missed a fair amount of time so far this season, so we don't know if he'll be in the lineup out there or not. The Rockets look good, though. They look pretty well so far this season. How do we match up against the Rockets?
James Harden. Period, point blank. That's it. Looking at the Rockets, they've reverted back to last year since Chris Paul has been out with wrist.
With knee injury.
Knee injury, thank you. Knee injury. And probably be out another 2 weeks. So it wasn't a big letdown. And that's kind of hard to say when you have a superstar and, he's not playing for like a month. Most people would be a letdown. But they reverted back to what they were last year with Harden taking over, doing what he does, kicking out to Gordon, sixth man of the year.
Eric Gordon, yeah.
Eric Gordon. So they'll be fine. They'll come in, push the tempo as much as possible to try to get the Hawks to speed up the pace and try and outrun them. And unfortunately for the home team, that won't be a good look.
Following the Rockets game, our Hawks will be back on the road, and they'll be headed to the land to take on the new-look Cleveland Cavaliers, who haven't looked pretty well. If we're honest, they have not looked to be. Now, I honestly think they're playing chicken to a degree as well. Like I've seen this script before in Miami, where Dwayne Wade's done, LeBron doesn't have it, and then they have a 50-point night in the playoffs. So I'm not really buying what's going on yet. But there have been some games that leave you scratching your head. Orlando went to Cleveland and blew them out. They also recently had a loss to the Nets in Brooklyn, and they played somebody last night and just recently lost. I forget, it was another mystery team that's not doing too well. I apologize for not knowing that offhand, but they'll be taking on Dwayne Wade in the Cavaliers next weekend. Our Hawks haven't fared well against the Cavs in recent years. They haven't fared well against the Cavs at all. So how do we stand up to the Cavs in this upcoming matchup?
They'll beat them. I mean, why not? Hey, all the chips in on the table on that one. The Cavs will win a close game. For some reason, the Hawks play them well when the Cavs come in limping, so to speak. When the Cavs have something to prove, a game before a game, when they're trying to make sure that they're clicking on all cylinders, that's when they're a scary team to play, when they get on a roll. When they're playing possum, like you say, at this point, that's when they could be right for the taking. But too much experience toward the end of the game is always key. I mean, you got LeBron, you got Wade, you got Love. 4 finals, over the 3. I'm already putting them in the finals. 4 straight finals. Go ahead and say it. It is what it is. So look for like a 108-99 game for the Cavs. They're now the insertion of J.R. Smith into the starting rotation, which is huge because now Wade can really rest. It's not like he won't play the final 3-4 minutes of the game. It's just a matter of him not starting, which doesn't make one bit difference either way. So, but it allows JR to get his shots and feel a part of the team because he's a streaky shooter, so he needs shots. He needs a rhythm. Wade is too much of a veteran. He doesn't need a rhythm. He can come in and fit in any role in any capacity.
After we take on the Cavs in Cleveland, our Hawks will be back here the following Monday to take on Uncle Drew and the new-look Boston Celtics. Now, we won't, unfortunately, be able to see Gordon Hayward this year. We are aware of the devastating injury that he faced on opening night. Get well soon, Gordon. We'll be looking forward to seeing you next season coming down in the Phillips Arena.
Don't count him out. Don't count him out. He could be ready for the playoffs.
He can make a playoff push. I agree as well. They said about 5 to 6 month injury, depending on how he rehabs. I agree. I will agree.
I would love him to come back for the
playoffs.
would
too. That would be get a young cats a chance to develop. Right. The Tatums and the Jaylen Brown from the Atlanta area.
Right.
So Brad Stevens, Coach Bud, 2 phenomenal coaches. I think Brad Stevens is one of the best coaches in the NBA right now.
Definitely one of the best in-game adjustments.
Yeah, X's and
O's.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
That young man, I was so interested to see how he was going to work Hayward and Irvin. I was interested to see how he was going to fit them into the system.
If anybody could do it,
it was him. I totally agree. Now it's Kyrie's team. You know, people were saying he wanted his own team. This, that, and the third. It's really his own team now with the injury to Hayward. But he is looking good. Kyrie just recently helped his team pick up a win against the Miami Heat, where he scored 9 of the final 12 points, including a 3-point basket to help them win against the Heat.
Right.
Kyrie has had a few interesting matchups with Dennis Schroeder as well. Them two, it almost seems like Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas always bring out the best in Dennis Schroeder to me.
Do.
They bring out the best. I'll throw John Wall in that mix as well.
Right.
I'll throw Wall in that mix as well.
Especially from the playoffs last year. Yeah.
So when we get an opportunity to see Kyrie Irving going up against Dennis Schroeder and our Hawks, what's going to take place next Monday? The following Monday.
As you mentioned, it'll be a battle of the point guards, and whichever point guard has the most assists will win. It won't be scoring. It'll be assist. And that bodes well for the Hawks, I think, because, I don't know. I will say that bodes well for the Hawks, but Kyrie is going to have to rely on Brown to be his quote-unquote Robin at this point, and let Tatum, come in and fill in on the rebounds and get some easy baskets, especially in transition. So looking at that, I might give the Hawks that one. I mean, I think Dennis plays up to his competition. And sometimes, unfortunately, he might even play down a little bit. Knowing that he has a person he knows he can get ahead of. He knows he can take to the rack. And sometimes he's just lethargic when he knows he can do that. He doesn't have the same type of aggression and focus sometimes against competition. He knows he can beat off the dribble and take over. But for this particular game against the Celtics, I'm going to take the Hawks in that one.
I think it'll be a hell of a game. We'll get an opportunity to see Jaylen Brown, the homecoming kid.
Yep.
He might have something to prove, matched up against Taurean Prince. Now, that's a matchup that we may see for years on down the line. An elite matchup of two good forwards, two young,
yes.
Very good forwards. So I'll be looking forward to that matchup.
Do you think it'll be too much pressure on Brown coming home? Because sometimes you eat your mom's cooking, so to speak. You got family and friends. You got to get tickets to. I don't know if
he seems to play up to the big. I was so impressed with him. The way once the Hayward injury went down, I was like, oh man, this team are they gonna fold? What's going to take place? And they had a chance to win that game at the end of the game against the Cavs. And it seemed like each game from that point on, Tatum's got a little bit more confidence. He's continuing to grow, as you just mentioned. But Jaylen Brown, his birthday was earlier this week. I believe it was Monday, and he had a big game on Monday night. It just seems like he's ready now. He understands that you say he needs to be robbing.
It's his time.
I think he's going to come home and show out. I honestly do. I think he's going to come home, and I think Coach Stevens is the type of cat that will allow him. Hey, this is your homecoming. That will allow him, run a few plays to let him pretty much, show off. So I think he's gonna have a good game. I see him scoring more than 25 points that night.
Looking at the next few games, look at the coaches. Now, 76ers,
Brent Brown though, he's a Coach Pop disciple. I think he hasn't got a fair shot yet because
he hasn't got a fair shot.
He's
the lineup. You got him, the Rockets, D'Antoni, who don't preach defense. The Cavs, you got LeBron as coach. And then, I didn't stutter. And then for the Celtics, you got Stevens. You got some solid coaches coming along here that not only do you have talent, but you have decent or great coaching, as mentioned with Brad Stevens.
I mean, after that, the Pistons have a great coach in Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy.
Who's another good X and O.
Great X and O coach. We see what he did with his time with the Magic, getting them to the finals. So
that's the only problem is you have coaches who can make adjustments and not just rely on talent to win games. So that's the struggle for the Hawks over the next 5 games.
As we just mentioned, they'll wrap up on a road trip in Detroit. They'll be taking on the Detroit Pistons the following Wednesday after they take on the Celtics. It'll be at Little Caesars Arena, actually in Detroit now.
Caesars?
Yeah, Little Caesars Arena.
They call it Little Caesars.
Little Caesars.
Man, I know they had moved it downtown, but I didn't know they called it Little Caesars.
And I think that's dope.
M&M let them call it? Man, Eminem, man, you gonna let them call ring the Little Caesars?
Little Caesars. That's who cut the check. That's who cut the check.
Not
for
Papa
him.
John.
Not Papa John. Little Caesars.
I ain't mad. Godfather's Pieces. Godfather's Pieces still around?
Yeah, they still floating right there on North Avenue, Spring and North. They still floating over there. So, you mentioned this off air, and we're gonna discuss it right now. Who makes the playoffs? Who actually makes the playoffs? We were two gentlemen who were actually reporting and putting our hearts into the Hawks possibly making the playoffs.
Man.
And if they started today, we would be wrong. We would be
so
wrong.
You don't know everything, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we know a few teams in both leagues: the Warriors,
Obviously.
the Spurs, the Celtics, the Cavs. We know a few teams who are going to make the playoffs. But in your perspective, give me 5 in East Conference, the East and the West sleeper teams that folks may not have thought that aren't the traditional, the Warriors, Cavs, Spurs, and Celtics.
Toronto. The only reason why they're a sleeper team is because nobody even talks about the Great Northwest, so to speak. North, because for one, it's international now, and you have the same group that's been there for the last 3 years. So looking at that, they were the team that least changed the most. Everyone else added a superstar or 2 or 3 new pieces. They kept their same unit, which is why they, to me, is an automatic bid to get into the playoffs. Plus, Casey has a lot to prove this year. As a
Do you think he's on the hot seat?
Yes, definitely. It's unfair because he's in the East, and the East is weak, but I don't know what you expect. As long as LeBron is going to be in the East, you're going to be second fiddle, so to speak. But at least push the Cavs to a Game 7 if you're going to do that. That's how you keep your job. Now, if he had got swept last season, then he would have been gone. But the fact, I think they pushed to Game 6, whether that was for rating or the money, I don't know. But it saved Casey's job. So I would definitely say the Raptors are the one team outside of Cleveland. And who was the other team you mentioned in the East that are guaranteed? Just Cleveland?
Cleveland and Boston.
Cleveland and Boston.
I would say Cleveland and Boston.
Boston still, obviously, playoffs, even though, as mentioned, Hayward is out. They're still going to be a playoff team. Washington Wizards will be a playoff team. Unfortunately for them, it's something in the DMV that none of the teams can get past the second round. They can't make a conference finals, whether it's the Capitals or the Nationals. It's something in the water in the DMV that they can't, get to the
see, there's something in the water or somebody in the office, one of the two.
Something. But they'll definitely make the playoffs. I'm going to put Detroit as a sleeper team to make the playoffs. Again, I put a lot of stock in the coaching because when you have, 3 games and 6 nights, your coaching, your in-game adjustments have to be on point for you to make it in the playoffs. So look for the Pistons to make it. And I might go out on a limb and say the 76ers.
That's not going out on a limb, though, good brother.
But
I can agree. I can attest to you.
You being a homer again.
I'm a Laker fan, but I give.
I know you give.
I like what I was trusting the process then, and I think it's paying off now.
If they stay healthy.
That's key.
That's key. If they stay healthy, the 76ers and Miami Heat. Nobody's talking about the Heat.
And I don't know why. They finished 30-11 last year.
Nobody's talking about the Heat. And it goes back to, unfortunately, what Jordan said. It's 4 great teams and everybody else. I mean, he used the word garbage, but, I won't say that they're garbage, but we only look at 4 teams who could possibly win a championship and exclude everyone else from possibly making the playoffs. So, again, the Miami Heat is a 5th team in the East.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to throw the Charlotte Hornets in my mix.
I agree with you.
Of course, my top 3 will remain the same. I'll have the Cavs, the Wizards, and the Celtics in no particular order.
Okay.
No particular order there.
Gotcha.
I'll even throw Toronto in at number 4.
Gotcha.
I haven't been sold on Toronto ever. I just
really,
I've never gotten the feeling that they were going to have an opportunity to win the playoffs. I just don't see it. Kyle Lowry, I've been watching him game for some time. My cousin went to high school with him, so we would go to the high school games. We would go to the Villanova games.
He didn't show up in the big games.
In the big games, he just doesn't.
Okay.
He just doesn't. He just doesn't.
No argument from me from that one.
And being a native of Philly, I don't understand it. I'm like, dang, I would expect him in the clutch moments to be going boom. I feel like DeRozan has
to carry him.
But he doesn't have a jumper. So it's like, his game is limited. He has the heart, I believe.
He does.
He has the inside game. He has a phenomenal inside game, the way he drives to the paint. But teams in the playoffs, they stack, once you clog the paint up, his game is diminished, Serge Ibaka, a cat who could possibly open up the lane for them now, he wants to shoot threes. He's
been that way since he left OKC.
And I don't understand that. It's like, come on, good brother. So
7 foot.
I'll throw them out there. I'm gonna throw the Bucks out there. I think
definitely.
I think the Bucks.
But I don't think they're a sleeper team.
I just still don't think they're getting the shine that I don't think a lot of people look at them as being able to make an impact in the play. Of course, we know about Giannis. I think people expect them to possibly be a playoff team, but first round knockout. Not a team that'll actually make noise in the playoffs. Okay. I think that we have a great chance if we don't see a Cavs Celtics finals, Eastern Conference Finals. We might see a Celtics Bucks Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not all the way sold on the Cavs getting to the finals all the way yet, just because of the chemistry that needs to form. So many one-year deals going down. LeBron's on the last year, Wade on his last year, Rose has a one-year deal, Isaiah has a one-year deal, Crowder's got it. So it's like, everybody's gonna want their money at some point. So when it comes down to the line, who's gonna take? This might be a lot of confusion. And I also noticed this too, just on a side note. I was watching the other night, the Cavs, they picked up a win against some team, forgive me once again, it was earlier this week, Tuesday or Wednesday, and they were doing their post-game handshakes as they normally do.
Right.
And LeBron and Wade, they've
been doing it for 7 years.
And Wade gave Kevin Love just the generic handshake. And Love looked kind of like, and he shook his hand, but then he did his handshake with LeBron. I was like, it's gonna be some tension with these, JR is already feeling some type of way, these players know the relationship LeBron and Wade have, and although they respect that, it's like Wade wasn't a part of these teams that got us to the finals. A lot of these, JR was there, Kevin Love was there, they played instrumental parts into why these teams have made it to, or that team rather has made it to 3 straight finals. We know what JR did here in the playoffs a couple years ago against the Hawks. He looked like a whole nother human being out there. We
single-handedly won 2 games.
Single-handedly came out here and won 2 games. It was like, who the heck seen that coming? So I'm not sold on the Cavs.
So you don't see. Well, I guess not, because we just said the DMV won't even make it. You don't see a Cavs Wizards Eastern Conference Final?
I don't.
Wow.
I don't. It's just something, as you say, something about the DMV.
Something about the DMV.
I don't even take Washington seriously. I think they're an extremely talented team. I like Scott Brooks. I think he's bringing out the best in John Wall, but I don't know.
But what did Scott Brooks do in OKC though? They only made it to what? 1 Western Conference?
No, they
final?
made it to the finals. They played the Heat.
They made the finals, right?
They played the Heat in the finals. But I just don't. I think they're one piece away from actually winning a championship.
The reason why they won't do it, they miss Otto Porter going to the Brooklyn Nets.
No, he stayed. He's there. He's there.
Okay, I thought he went to Brooklyn.
They matched the deal.
They matched it.
But he just hasn't been playing like that. That's the thing.
Maybe that's why
you got
he was there.
$100 million deal. We're not getting $100 million stats from that brother. We're not. You know what I'm saying? So that's very interesting. I'll throw the Hornets in the mix. Okay. I think Dwight and Kemba are going to form a pretty dope chemistry. I definitely agree with you as far as the Heat are concerned. I think the Heat, they're flying under the radar. Hassan Whiteside is one of the best big men in the league, on both sides of the ball. So
top 3 defensive players of the year.
I agree. No argument from me there. I totally agree. And if I had to throw a sleeper team out there, it probably would end up being the Pistons. It would be the Pistons because they have great coaching, and it seems like he has the players that he wants, the Avery Bradleys, the people who are going to play defense.
Man. Celtics gonna miss him.
They are. I agree. But I'm about to say I don't know, because it had the development of Brown and Tatum. If one of those 2 cats can turn into a defensive specialist and give you something on the offensive side of the ball, then it's a win. Because Avery was limited on the defensive side of the ball. He made a few big shots, but that was almost because teams were testing him. Take that shot. You ain't gonna knock that down, and then he proved them wrong.
The intensity that he brings, the lockdown that he can bring,
he definitely locks cats down.
that they will miss. So who you got in the West? Outside of
in the West, we know the top three. I'll say as far as being the Warriors, the Spurs, and the Rockets.
Not OKC.
I was gonna put them as my fourth team, only because as you mentioned, Harden is already a little more proven. Like he hasn't gotten to the finals yet, but he has gotten his team past the first round. As far as like Westbrook has yet to do that on his own. I know his team was limited,
right? And
now he has,
he got help.
Yeah, he has help now. But I don't see them being higher than a fourth seed. I don't.
Really? You don't think that they'll all mesh together and figure it out and get in?
I think they'll mesh, but I think it'll be a situation where we may see like the Warriors win 65 to 70 games. We may see the Spurs win somewhere between 65 and 60. The Rockets win somewhere between 65 and 60, and then OKC be about 60 to 57. So like they won't be far off as far, but
between 1 and 4, be separated by 4 games.
Exactly. So that's why it could flip flop some, but I see OKC as being the fifth seed right there. I think this will actually be the time that we'll see the Trailblazers creep into the playoffs. I think the Trailblazers will find a way to creep into the playoffs. My sleeper team in the West coming into this year was the Minnesota Timberwolves.
That's my sleeper team.
They haven't been on the defensive side of the ball what I think they can be with the pieces that are there, and then just having Coach Tibbs, a defensive specialist.
Exactly.
But preseason, I was predicting the Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves Western Conference Finals. So we'll see how that goes.
The addition of Jamal Crawford.
It's clutch. It's clutch.
I mean, a sixth man of the year. I don't think people understand.
A veteran.
Veteran sixth man of the year doesn't come around often. That's like getting the second pick in the draft.
I dig that.
So for them to pick him up, to be a veteran, to help out the young players, to even understand what Tibb is trying to teach and coach is going to be invaluable. And I want to say T will be a good addition, just as far as minutes and resting some of the young players, letting them get a breather, letting them understand how the NBA season is going to take place this year. Definitely got them. The other sleeper team, I'm going to go Pelicans.
I'm
going to go Pelicans.
Pick.
The best front court in probably the NBA with Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis. And a point guard in Rondo.
And they just picked up Josh Smith.
And Josh Smith now.
And Jameer Nelson.
All the pieces are there. All the pieces are there. It's just a matter of can Gentry coach them. And I always hark back to in playoff time, talent gets you 1 to 2 games. Coaching gets you another one, and then you got to have pure unadulterated luck to win the 4th game. So if you got those 4 things, that's how you win a series. So they're automatically behind the 8 ball with Gentry. I don't see him being able to coach in a playoff series. However, the talent, maybe that pure unadulterated luck will get them over the hump.
I ain't mad at that. We're going to actually jump in and do a live look-in at some of the games across the league right now. Now, as we see, the San Antonio Spurs, what's going on with them? It seems 2 losses in a row. The San Antonio Spurs lost tonight 97-94, playing against the Indiana Pacers. Now, as we see, Victor Oladipo scored 13 of his 23 points in the 4th quarter, and he also hit the game-winning three-pointer with 10.1 seconds left.
So it was a step-back 3. That is just any 3.
Are the Pacers for real? Are we going to see some noise from the Pacers this year?
Yeah, we're going to see some noise. How bad they are. That's the only noise they're going to make. I mean, come on. I mean, nobody expected the Spurs to start off 4-0 after Parker not playing and Kawhi not being healthy. So, to the point we were talking about earlier with other teams, these young guys are getting minutes. Is it Murray that's running the point guard for San Antonio? Okay, Murray getting valuable minutes right now, looking like he's going to be the new quote-unquote face of the franchise.
Young kid looks good.
You got him, Aldridge, and Kawhi now. We always talk about the new big 3 and everything. That could be the building blocks for years to come.
Also across the league, in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center, we saw the Denver Nuggets go into Brooklyn and leave out with a 124-111 win against the Brooklyn Nets. Now, we just had the opportunity to see the Denver Nuggets here, and they look pretty well. They're a team that I thought was going to be able to make some noise in the playoffs. I think I need to see a little bit more from them and before I make a final decision on that.
Good to see Millsap come back home.
Great to see
play
Millsap.
well.
Great to see Paul out there. Tonight he finished the game with 13 points on 5 of 14 shooting.
Okay.
Young cat that I like a lot. He got a big deal in the offseason. Well, I like Moody. Yeah, he's
okay.
He's okay. My favorite guard on this team actually is Jamal Murray, the cat out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
He showed out last year in the rookie game, but he finished the game with 26 points, going 8 for 14 from the field. Also finishing with 5 assists. We're gonna look out for him. Nikolai Jokic, I think that man is bad. Big man that can pass the ball. He has wonderful foot movement in the paint.
He has more than just a Euro step.
Yeah, he does. He had a good game tonight as well. He finished the game. With 21 points and 14 rebounds. He shot tonight 9 for 16. So it was a pretty good night for him
Mason
tonight.
Plumlee come in over the week, the last home game, and just show out like that.
He had to go. His brother was on the other team, so he's like, he's not getting on the court, but I'm gonna show out.
Yeah,
against
I'm talking
him.
about all Duke players. Yep.
Then right up the road, right up I-85 in Charlotte, Dwight and Kemba Walker, picked up a big 120-113 win against the Orlando Magic. The Magic have looked very good so far to start off the season. They have a few big wins under their belt. Eric Gordon seems like he's beginning to come into his own as a star out there for Orlando. Kemba Walker was the star of the night, though, finishing the game with 34 points and 10 assists. Do Kemba and Dwight, as I mentioned, they may be a sleeper team to make the playoffs. Do you think they have what it takes to be a great 1-2 punch out there in Buzz City?
Definitely, because Dwight, for whatever reason, him and Dennis didn't get on the same page here in Atlanta. And it's kind of hard to do when you only got 1 year and you kind of know you only have 1 year. When things break down, you don't trust that, okay, let's get this figured out, because in the back of your mind, you know this person only has 1 year. I mean, it's a sad reality. But if I know you're leaving, I'm not going to put my all into trying to figure this thing out and make it work.
That.
So with Dwight being there and Charlotte probably being home for at least a couple of years, Kimberly will be more intuitive of saying, hey, okay, let's get this thing figured out. The pick and roll, pick and pop, both of these will work good for both you and myself. And Dwight can go back to being a rim protector.
He's doing that so far this year. I believe in every game this year he's had over 10 rebounds. But it's been something. His numbers are staggering. He may even be over 15 rebounds. He's been having 26 rebound nights, and he's
going back to the Magic days.
And I was frustrated.
Which is what everybody
want to hear. I mean, I'm not a GM, but for the life of me, I couldn't understand what was going on. When Dwight seemed to be a force when he was out there for the Hawks. When they were doing pick and rolls, and when he was a force. We saw the difference he made in the playoffs when he was actually on the floor. So what
was the key word?
When he was on the floor. When he was on the floor.
So how do you not have him in the end of the game? I'm not saying on that, but how do you not put him and insert him in the end of the games in the last 4 to 5 minutes when you know all a certain team is going to do is drive to the basket? Because they don't have
his fault,
great shooters.
Because he's not a great shooter. It's almost like you win some, you lose some. You want him out there for his defensive prowess. But then if Cass get into the hack of the Dwight mode, he's an offensive liability because I get it. That he's not going to make 2 foul shots.
Granted. But I'd rather suffer that way and have him out there to get rebounds and at least be a distraction. Because I got enough shooters, I can compensate for that. But what do I know? I'm not a coach.
Also in the NBA tonight, the Sacramento Kings, they fell to a record of 1-5 after they lost tonight to the now 4-2 Washington Wizards, who we mentioned a moment ago, 110-83. Now it says Washington led by as many as 37 points, and they never trailed throughout the game. 37 points, and they never trailed throughout the game. John Wall, in 26 minutes of action, finished with 19 points. He also finished with 9 assists.
Okay. 19-9, that's a quiet
gentlemen,
night.
we were just talking about Otto Porter. He finished tonight with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist.
He's the key to them if they ever going to make it to East Conference Finals is Porter. He's the quote-unquote missing link.
Bradley Beal, their other sharp shooting guard, he finished the game with 15 points on 6 for 11 shooting. Now, so I agree with you. You know who the big two is in Wall and Beal. They have to have a third player step up. And Otto Porter, you have the talent and the potential, and now you have the paycheck. So it's like you have to.
And he plays good defense.
You got to find a way. I agree. He's a. I don't want to call him a Bruce Bowen, but that is kind of who he reminds me of sometimes on the defensive end. So I'll agree with you there 100%. And then there are a few games that are actually taking place right now. We see the New York Knicks with an 11-point lead.
Have they won a game this year? I'm just kidding.
They are. They're 1-3. The Knicks are 1-3 right now. Porzingis, he's been looking pretty well as well. Him and Patrick Ewing are the only two Knicks to have at least 100 points and 30 rebounds in their first 4 games. Now, I mean, those stats haven't equaled up to a win, a collective wins for the Knicks. They only have 1 so far in the young season. But it looks like they're trying to make it 2 right now. Tim Hardaway Jr., a cat we was kind of talking about, he needs to step his game up, 24 points in the first half. So Timmy might have found his rhythm.
24 in the first half.
That was the gentleman that I was sorry to see let go. The Hawks walk away. I hated him leaving. It seemed like they were developing something out here with
he was
Timmy.
Another one that once he got enough playing time, you saw him emerge and become a great player.
Stepping up.
And he wasn't afraid. That was the one thing I liked about him. He wasn't afraid to take a shot, and if he missed 2 straight, he would still come back and shoot with the same confidence as if he had made 2 shots.
Yeah, they're looking good right now, the young Knicks are. Tim Hardaway has 24 points deep in the third quarter. Kristaps Porzingis has 22 points deep into the third quarter. And Enes Kanter already has 10 rebounds. So it appears that the Knicks are looking like they want to get a big win out there tonight. LeBron right now is sitting on 12 points or 5 for 8 shooting.
Okay.
Kevin Love right now is sitting on 17 points. He's struggling a bit from the field on 5 for 14 shooting.
Get in the post, Love.
J.R. Smith currently has 9 points. And Derrick Rose is back in action tonight. Derrick Rose currently has 11 points. I know he missed the last few games with ankle injury, so it's good to see him back on the court for the Cavs tonight. And then finally tonight, the game isn't on right now, but later on tonight, we'll see the Detroit Pistons as they'll be heading to the Bay to take on Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. I think that'll be a pretty dope matchup right there as well. We'll see how things shape up with that.
Let me ask you. I know there's been a lot of rumors about Eric Bledsoe and where he can potentially go. Where would you like to see him go?
That's a great question, good sir. That is honestly a great question. A part of me wanted to see him go to the Knicks. I felt like I don't know what they would have to give up for him, but I was thinking a big 3, I'll say, quote unquote, of Bledsoe, Hardaway, and Porzingis could be like scoring. If Hardaway could live up to the potential I believe he had, I think he has all-star talent. I'm not going to throw him in the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to
right, but all-star.
I think he has all-star talent. I truly do. Being a student of the game, he was able to grow up in the NBA life, so the bright lights aren't big for him. It's not, he's been going. His dad being Tim Hardaway Sr. for those who don't know, so he's been around. He's been around the game for some time. He's also played. He went to Michigan, so he played under the big lights, big bright lights. I don't know if the Knicks have a coach. Coach Bud, I think, as we mentioned, was grooming him to be great. I don't know if the Knicks have the coach to get the best potential out of him. I think that Bledsoe would be a good fit there. I heard that the Bucks were trying to get Bledsoe, but
they would have to give up rookie of the year.
Give up Malcolm.
You don't give up your rookie of the year. That won't work.
Only team that does that is the Sixers, and they gave up Michael Carter Williams, and the only team that his career has dwindled since that point.
The only place that could potentially give up something without letting anything go is the Celtics, because they have like 20 million draft picks. And I mean, could you imagine a backcourt of Bledsoe and Kyrie?
They just would be too small.
It'd be too small. Right.
Be too small.
That only thing.
Because that's his problem now, playing with all the different guards in Phoenix. Devin Booker's a great young guard.
Right.
But they're both, Bledsoe is about 5'8", 5'9", if that, on a good night, if we're going to be honest about it, so he's a phenomenal offensive talent, but he couldn't be a defensive liability. If he has to go up against Giannis, it's like, come on, where would you like to see him go?
I wouldn't mind him in San Antonio, but I've seen Murray step up, so I'm like, no, Pop wouldn't be willing to do that. But originally, my first thought was go to San Antonio to take Tony, to be the heir apparent to Tony Parker.
I can dig that. They can give up Danny Green and some picks and shift Murray to the 2 guard.
Yeah,
that's not a bad look right there.
I don't know what Cleveland will do with Isaiah Thomas. Like you said, everybody's kind of on a 1-year lease, so to speak. So maybe Cleveland looks to the future of saying, okay, this is going to be our point guard going forward.
But then Isaiah would have. You think he want to go back to Phoenix?
It's possible.
I mean,
if you put the right package deal together.
I know LeBron was trying to get Bledsoe in the offseason,
Right. So, hey, those are just possible places. Obviously, I'll make sure he goes to the East. I wouldn't want him to stay in the West. And if you stayed in the West, there are very few. Everybody's kind of a point guard driven teams in the West.
It's a heavy league. It's a guard heavy league right about now.
So it ain't too many places he can go in the West. Most likely would have to be in the East.
I think he would fit in well with the team you mentioned a moment ago. The Pelicans, they would have to give up something. Maybe they just got Jameer Nelson, so I'm not quite sure on that, but
it would have to be picks and cash or something like that. To figure out where to put him, but that would be a good fit to go with those two in the front court with Boogie and Anthony Davis.
It'll be dope to see. It'll be very dope to see. So as we mentioned, our Atlanta Hawks tonight, they move on to a record of 1-6 after losing to the now 4-2 Milwaukee Bucks, 111-106. Don, what else do you have coming up this week? I know you have your show tomorrow evening.
Got a show tomorrow night. This week? Pretty much, I'll just replay this in my head and try and talk about it. We'll talk NASCAR. Playoffs are on right now. You got the Contender 8 that's going on. We'll bring up Major League Baseball World Series and the Houston Astros if they can go ahead and take care of business at home. The first loss was the other night, last night. That first loss in the postseason. We'll see if the Dodgers can take a stronghold of the series. What else do we have tomorrow? NFL. We'll discuss today's game. Congratulations to the Falcons on getting a win and finally beating a team in the AFC East.
I respect that.
And we'll give some love to the HBCU. Yesterday was the Magic City Classic in Birmingham, the 76th annual. Congratulations to Alabama State and their 21-16 win over A&M. Shout out to T.I. on an amazing post concert after the show. After the game. They were. Tip put on the show. And we kind of talk about the kneeling that took place by the Texans. Fair, foul, or indifferent. So make sure you tune in tomorrow.
I like that. I want to personally once again thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna have to have you here often, man. We're gonna have to have you here often, joining us here at the desk. We'll be back on Friday. Our Hawks will be back here Friday. Once again, Sideline Stories will be about an hour and 15 minutes after every Atlanta Hawks home game. We'll be bringing you recaps of the Hawks game and then a live look across the NBA, and we'll talk about games that are currently taking place in the league. A lot of the games that are taking place now are almost over, so we won't be able to give you the final scores on that. But on Friday night, after the Hawks-Rockets game, we'll have post-game recaps from the Hawks and the Rockets, and we'll talk about what's going on with our Atlanta Hawks and keep you up to date with that. Tomorrow, make sure you stay tuned in to Live Hip Hop Daily. Tomorrow at 1:15, These Urban Times will be on air. We'll be bringing you the best in music, films, a little bit of sports, and more. And then later on tomorrow evening, it'll be a long slew of shows right here at the Live Hip Hop Daily Studios. I'm your host, Terrell Thomas. Thank you very much for tuning in and rocking with us this week. Don, once again, let them know where they can check you out via social media.
DNA Sports Talk. You can find Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, website DNASportsTalk.com. And if you need to reach it directly, email DNASportsTalk@gmail.com.
Make sure you continue to follow me, Eldorado2452. Also, make sure you follow the Stew and the station, Live Hip Hop Daily. Big ups to our man H, executive producer of the show tonight. Also, big ups to my man Danny Digital, behind the scenes making things happen. Have a blessed week. Peace and blessings. We'll see you Friday.